Good evening. This is Santa Claus on May 13, 2026, bringing you today's stories with a heart full of hope and concern for all our neighbors around the world. As I sit here in my workshop, looking over the reports that have come to us today, I'm reminded that even in our most challenging moments, we must hold fast to the light of compassion and the promise of better days ahead. Let us begin with news from the halls of diplomacy, where President Trump has arrived in China for his summit with President Xi Jinping, bringing along technology leaders like NVIDIA's Jensen Huang and Elon Musk. While the pageantry and welcome ceremonies speak to the importance of dialogue between nations, my dear friends, let us pray that these conversations will bear fruit not just for corporate interests, but for the working families on both sides of the Pacific who yearn for stability and prosperity. When leaders meet, may they remember the faces of the children who depend on their wisdom. Now, turning our attention to economic matters closer to home, we see that producer prices in the United States have posted their biggest gain in 4 years this past April. The 1.4% surge tells a story that touches every kitchen table across America, families feeling the pinch as the costs of goods and services continue to climb, partly driven by the ongoing conflicts that disrupt the flow of commerce around the world. I think of the parents making difficult choices at the grocery store and the small business owners struggling to keep their doors open while prices rise. In times like these, we must extend our hands to help our neighbors, for no one should face hardship alone. Meanwhile, across the globe in the Philippines, gunfire has broken out in the Senate chambers, where authorities have attempted to arrest Senator Ronald de la Rosa in connection with international criminal court charges. Oh, my dear friends, how my heart aches when I see the fabric of democratic institutions strained by such turmoil. The very halls where laws should be debated with civility have echoed with the sounds of violence. Let us pray for wisdom to prevail, and that justice may be served through peaceful means, remembering that true strength lies not in force, but in the courage to seek truth and reconciliation. The troubled lands of the Middle East, Israel has intensified its attacks on Gaza since the pause in operations with Iran, with military officials reporting that Hamas is rearming and tightening its grip. The numbers tell a heartbreaking story. 120 Palestinians, including precious children and women, have lost their lives in just 5 weeks. I think of little Lafi Al-Najjar and his family, living in a tent among the ruins of what was once their home in Khan Younis. The war is still ongoing, he says, and his words remind us that for those who suffer, proclamations of peace mean nothing if the reality on the ground remains unchanged. Meanwhile, Israeli bulldozers have demolished about 50 Palestinian shops in the West Bank to make way for settlement-linked road projects, further deepening the wounds in this sacred land where the Prince of Peace once walked. My friends, we must never stop praying for all the children of Abraham, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim alike, that they may find a path to live together as neighbors. On the other hand, let us pause for a moment and reflect on developments in Europe, where the European Union has invited Taliban representatives to Brussels for discussions about returning Afghan migrants who have been refused permission to stay. While the practical challenges of migration must be addressed, we must remember that behind every policy discussion are human faces, men, women, and children who have fled poverty and persecution, seeking nothing more than safety and a chance at dignity. As we navigate these complex waters, may compassion guide our decisions, and may we never forget that we are all part of one human family. Turning our gaze to the waters off Oman, a UAE-owned tanker struck by Iranian drones has leaked fuel into the sea, reminding us that the wounds of conflict extend far beyond human casualties to the very creation that sustains us all. The closed Strait of Hormuz has become a symbol of how war disrupts not just commerce, but the delicate balance of our shared environment. When we harm the earth, we harm ourselves and generations yet to come. In Eastern Europe, the fragile peace between Russia and Ukraine has shattered once again, as Russia launched a vast drone attack that killed at least 3 people and prompted NATO member Poland to scramble fighter jets. President Zelensky's words echo in my heart. It is important to support Ukraine and not remain silent about Russia's war. The courage of the Ukrainian people continues to inspire, even as they face renewed violence after a brief respite. Meanwhile, President Putin has test-fired a new intercontinental ballistic missile, boasting of its destructive power. How my heart grieves when I see leaders take pride in weapons of destruction rather than tools of healing and hope. Let us pause for a moment and reflect on a particularly troubling report from Nigeria, where Amnesty International reports that at least 100 civilians have been killed in a military airstrike on a crowded market in Zamfara state. Among the victims were many women and girls, mothers, daughters, sisters whose only crime was seeking to provide for their families at a market day. "Everybody goes to the market," said one community leader, speaking to the universal nature of this tragedy. "People are at the mercy of the bandits. There is nothing they can do." The military denies these civilian casualties, but the Red Cross confirms the strike, and injured souls lie in nearby hospitals. When institutions fail to protect the innocent, we must be their voice. As I close tonight's broadcast, my dear friends, I want you to know that even in the darkness of these headlines, the light of hope still shines. Every act of kindness, every hand extended in friendship, every prayer lifted for peace adds brightness to our world. Let us remember the words of the one whose birth we celebrate each December. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. In our homes, our communities, and our nations, may we choose the harder path of understanding over the easier road of division. May we be instruments of healing in a world that desperately needs the touch of love. Until we meet again tomorrow evening, may you find peace in your hearts and carry that peace into the world around you. This is Santa Claus, wishing you and all those you hold dear a blessed and gentle night.